Hello. Tonight, joining you is myself, Sylvia Via Utley, and Angela. Angela is going to be speaking about her father, Robert Strunck, who is also my grandfather. We have a picture of him. This was in his later years, but we'll just go ahead and share it with you. There is Robert Strunck. And Mother, why don't you tell us share with us.
My father was born 1903 in Brussels, Belgium. And you may wonder why he was born in Brussels, because his father was German and his mother was German. But I never met him. He died before I was born.
Your grandfather, not your father.
No, my grandfather. But he was a merchant of Brussels lace.
Do you know his name?
Robert.
Oh, so there were two Roberts.
Yeah, his first name was also Robert. I don't remember my grandmother's name. It was very important for them to make sure that their name Strunck was correctly spelled, because most of the time Strunck is spelled without a C. And every time somebody did not spell the name right, my father would correct them. I don't really know much about how he grew up. He told me, and he had a tendency to exaggerate, that they had a cook, and that cook knew 362 recipes for potatoes, and his mother and his father made sure that they never had the same potatoes. But I have nobody to make sure that was true or not. Well then, before World War I, they went back to Germany. I have no idea what they did. I have no idea what my father did. I have no idea where he lived. My first memory of him telling me he was in Munich, and that was when the big depression had hit all over the world. And my father told me that he had to have a wheelbarrow with money, because there's so much money to buy a loaf of bread. Of course, I think that was partially his exaggeration, but we loved that story. And every time I used to use a wheelbarrow, I thought of the wheelbarrow full of money. He went to school, he went to college, in a college in East Prussia. The name of the city is Elbing, and that city is also now I think it's in Lithuania. So much of that got caught up because Russia and Lithuania and Poland. And that's where he met my mother. I don't remember when they got married. My mother never talked about it. And by that time my father married. They were divorced, so they never talked about it. But I know that he went to Africa, to the city of Windhoek, which used to be a colony of Germany. And I think that country is now called Namibia, but I'm not sure. And that's when he started his first job as a teacher where he taught German. Because my father had a wanderlust. He could never stay settled at one place. And during his life, he had a school in Africa, he had a school in Kabul, Afghanistan. Then he formed 3 different private schools, and one of the schools is still existing today in his name.
And what is the name of that school? Do you remember?
It's called Eichenschule, which means Oak School.
And it's in where in Germany? It's okay if you can't remember.
No, I mean, it's a small place between Bremen and Hamburg, and it's called Schäße. And the reason it was built there, because we ended up for a time being in a state after we fled East Prussia. But I will go into that later in more detail and he was a very restless man, and he taught me not to be afraid. I cannot.
In what way did he teach you not to be afraid?
It's hard to explain, because he said the worst thing, being afraid as you're afraid, and tell yourself not to be afraid. It's not always easy to do, but it has helped. And my history has shown that there were many, many times where I had every reason to be totally afraid, and then always thought of my father. And I remember one thing. We were in Mallorca, and he had rented a paddle boat, and we paddled out quite a bit, and the ocean was deep, and we did not wear a safety belt. And my father said to me, "Go jump in the water." And I said, and the water was salty, so I could have done that. But I had 3 children and a husband in the United States. And I told him I would not do that. That's the only time where I told him not being afraid can also sometimes be foolish. And that's my father evidently was never afraid, because what he did in his life is totally amazing, absolutely amazing. And when we were in Mallorca, and he was lots of fun to be around with, there were some younger children, they were guests, and they were afraid to jump in the pool. So what my father did, he would put a silver coin in the water in the pool and say, "Now jump in, and when you get that money, it's yours." And they did.
How about that?
And he took my daughter Sylvie to a champagne
That's me.
Spanish festival, and my daughter
And
her
Gabriela.
and my daughter Sylvie and Gabriele got really drunk because the champagne was free. That's what my father did.
And then we went skinny dipping.
What do you say?
And then after we got drunk, or after we drank the free champagne, they had Spanish dancers with the what do you call them? The casilla. Yeah. And they danced the authentic Spanish dance. And then after we got home, we all went skinny dipping. In the morning, we woke up. Gabriela, who is my cousin, had a terrible hangover. And her mother, my aunt, or Angela's sister, Isa, she got up and came into our bedroom and forcefully tried to make us get up. And she was very boisterous. And when she did that, it reminded me of you, Mother, and it kind of backfired, because when she was so authoritative, I giggled at her, and that kind of made her set her back. But I giggled because it reminded me of you.
But Sylvie, I was there too.
Yeah.
But
no, I don't think you were there.
Oh, that was when you were alone? Okay,
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah, one time you were without me.
So Opa introduced me to champagne, and Gabriela.
Because Isa and I talked about it. I said, if you're old enough to go out at night as an adult, you have to be old enough in the morning as an adult too.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
I think, but Gabriela was sick. It was much more sick than I was. So, anyway.
You probably never drank as much, and it was not expensive champagne, but it was alcohol,
Yeah.
It tasted good and was cold, so.
Yeah.
Well, because that's good. But I should have said that in the beginning. I wanted to add something for my mother, because that will explain a lot of things that happened later, how she reacted to what we did. My mother could be extremely strict and very Prussian. Duty to work, duty to be always punctual, be orderly. I mean, we had to be so orderly. I mean, we were not allowed to throw clothes around And it all had to be hung up. But then on the other side, she was one of the most tolerable and free-thinking spirit.
Tolerant. She was very tolerant.
Tolerant. She accepted everybody without judging. And I can talk about that later when I describe some of the things that she taught me as I did with her, that show that. But I think if I set the example how she was, then it might explain a lot of things later on.
So let's back up for just a minute. So when Opa moved to South Africa,
Yeah.
he had you with him, or you were born there, and he was married.
And my brother was born there. And my mother was pregnant with my sister, but my brother could not tolerate the hot climate. So they had to go back to Germany because so then my sister was then born in Germany. But
How many years did you live in South Africa?
Well, I was born in 1930, and I met they got there 1929 or 28, I'm not sure. And my sister was born in 1933, so we must have lived there, say, from 1928 to 1930 in the spring when we came back to Germany. But I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. So then you went back to Germany, and then after that, Opa or Robert Strunck got a job in Afghanistan.
Right.
And how long were you in Afghanistan?
In Afghanistan, we there from 1900, I think it was late 1935, and we had to leave Afghanistan because the political situation got so bad, because Afghanistan had a king, and Hitler was in the beginning, and so Hitler was in the beginning of his dictatorship, and so we had to leave Afghanistan in late 1938.
Okay. So you mentioned also that Opa's family background, they were lace makers. They made Brussels lace.
No, they did not make it. They sold it. They sold.
Okay.
He was a merchant. And in those days, Brussels sprout was
Not
bought.
Brussels sprouts, Brussels lace.
Brussels lace.
It's okay.
Because it was very fashionable to have Brussels lace in all shapes or forms, and a lot of wealthy people would buy it. And I have a picture of a piece of Brussels lace. I think it is old. My cousin gave it to me.
We're going to show it to you. This is a piece of lace that's probably 100 years old.
It's a shawl.
So your cousin gave this to you as a gift, right?
Yeah.
And do you remember what she said to you when she gave it to you?
She wanted me to have a piece of the Brussels lace.